Welcome to the Call Me By Your Game podcast. This is your host, Connor McCabe, here for a very special episode of the show. If you listen to the podcast, then you'll know normally I bring people on to hear from them about a meaningful video game from a particular moment in their life, and we dive into not only what made playing that game special and what they loved about it, but also the time and the moments that are tied to the context of when they played that game. Today, we have a very special episode. We bring to you the top 10 favorite games of all time, part 6. This is a format where I bring back, I almost said past contestants, like you're all on a game show. That's, I guess, not exactly what's going on, but I kind of want to look at it through that lens today. There will be a winner, basically. But this is the format of the show where I bring back 3 past guests to list their top 10 favorite games of all time. It's a grueling exercise. It's impossible. I'm sure we'll have much lamenting on this episode about that. But it's a fun exercise that I love to put people through. And we've got an amazing episode coming for you today. A little bit of housekeeping before we get started is that anything my guests or I plug, whether they have an amazing Twitter or an awesome podcast or they like sports, there's going to be plugs in the show notes for whatever we want to share with you. So wherever you're watching this podcast, whether it is on YouTube, if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever, if you scroll down in the show notes, wherever you are, you'll find links to that stuff. I've made it very easy for you. And that includes all the stuff here from Super NPC Radio and the other podcasts we make, like our Patreon, our Discord, our social medias, a bunch of stuff. But yeah, that'll do it for the introduction of the podcast. I'll introduce my 3 wonderful guests today, and this is, at least I'm consistent, because at this point, you'd think, folks, that when I get to this intro, it wouldn't take to getting to this point every time to remember, oh wait, I wanted to look up what my guest's first episode ever was, and I know all of your games, but I want to get the episode number right. Let's go here. As I Googled our first guest's name, let's see, Eddie Martin, Call Me By Your Game, Star Fox 64. Let's see what comes up.
It's definitely a season 1 guest.
Season 1 guest. Let's see. We've got. Okay, this is good podcasting, by the way,
Does
folks.
not compute. Does not compute.
No, this is good stuff. All right.
I swear I did one.
You know what? Here's what I'll do. I'll go on. But either way, welcome to the microphone, Eddie Martin. What's up, buddy?
Not much. Thanks for having me. Good to be with y'all.
Dude.
Ready to talk video games.
Dude,
ready to talk top 10s.
I can't wait. Good to have you, buddy. What I also should have done, I love to talk about the things I should have done. One of the things I should have done was try to guess your list. And I know definitely a few games that are going to be on there. So I'm really excited. And I'm
It's not fair. We grew up together. You know my list probably at the back of your hand.
It's true. It's quite unfair. But I know, I can, with certainty, guess your favorite game of all time, which we won't spoil right now, as I'm stalling to get back to our first episodes. Come on, Connor, you can do this. This is truly
the problem is he's done a couple, because I see here in episode 177 that was NCAA baseball.
Yes, he's been on the show many times. He's been on the show
multiple times. So
I was going to say, I'm sure he's had a backyard, right? He's had a backyard sports game on
We
here.
talked about Backyard Baseball 2001, but I finally have it, folks. Even though he stepped out of the room, episode 6, all about Star Fox 64. I promise the rest are going to be at least marginally quicker than that. It was episode 6.
I was gonna guess 7. I seriously, in my brain, I was thinking 7. I'm not just making that up for a joke. I was seriously thinking 7.
Dude, I was thinking 10, but either way, you were closer. And that's the first part of the competition.
You were a top 10 episode then. Well, first 10, I should say.
Season one, baby.
Pretty dang close. Our next guest that I'll welcome to the podcast, and again, I know the game, but I'm like, I want to get the episode right.
I got the episodes up if you want to throw.
Oh, you do? Because I got his at least.
Okay.
So, but thank you, Garrett. You're like, wow, this was much easier than Connor's making it seem. From making his debut on episode 89 to discuss Diddy Kong Racing is none other than one of the Super Gamer Boys. It's Adrian Holmes.
What's going on, Connor? Thank you for having me.
Buddy, so glad
to be here.
To have you back on the podcast. How are you doing? I don't think I've really talked to you too much since our Super Later Boys episode, but are you hanging in there, pal? I'm
hanging in there, man. I'm doing the best I can, especially after going through this list.
Oh, man. Yeah, truly.
Boy, what a toll.
Everything else was great, but I put you through hell with this. But you've come out the other side, and you're going to be good. Glad to have you here. And then as I like truly scroll through this, I'm like, it has to be. Oh, there we go. Found it. From episode 105. Yes, folks, we have the other Super Gamer Boy. And you like to be called the other Super Gamer Boy, right, Garrett?
Yeah, that's actually my official title.
From episode,
that's how I introduce myself at the beginning of each and every episode. Your host, Colonel and Dad, the other Super Gamer Boy, Garrett Morlang. Yes.
I love it. Episode 105, talking Death Stranding. It's Garrett Morlang, as we've already introduced. Garrett, welcome back, buddy.
Thanks for having me back. It's good to be here. Nice and cozy. Thanks for the drinks. I assume you offer these, or was this something I just found on your back porch here? No.
Yeah. No, I set those out for you.
It's just a free beer. I took it, so sorry.
Huge. Well, you know what? Anytime you want to just take something off the back porch or the patio, like green light, that kind of extends to all three of you. Cool. Not playing favorites with Garrett today, folks. Before we get into it, I know that we're going to plug stuff at the very end of the podcast, but I want to give you guys a chance. If there's anything you want to plug or promote today, or just talk or just mention your favorite baseball team, you can do that. Eddie, is there anything you want to plug or promote today while you're here?
No. I wish I was more active lately. I mean, I try to pop in the Discord here and there, but I'm studying for my science test. I'm gonna be a science teacher, so
yeah.
Just been kind of going really hard with that, whether it's that working or subbing. So
dude, that's kind of a lovely life update, though. We take life updates too.
Yeah, that's my life update. I have been watching a lot of baseball, and go Giants as always. But I have to. It's good to see you guys. It really is.
Dude,
enjoying this.
Can I ask you, which is something I could just ask you over text, but I got you now.
Sure.
What's your track like, becoming a teacher? What's this timeline that we're looking at?
Basically, I'm doing like an internship credential. So my first 2 years of teaching, I'll be teaching full-time, all that stuff. But then I earn my credential while I teach. So they're pretty desperate for teachers right now in California. So they have a lot of good incentive programs for those of us who want to enter the education space. So hopefully by August, I'll be teaching full-time.
Oh, that a little birthday present for you.
Yeah, and get summers off to play video games. Dude. I can finally get caught up on everything.
Dude, what more could we want? We'll finally get Final Fantasy VII Remake in your hands. It's gonna be great.
That should be if I like once I pass all my stuff and I get hired somewhere, I should get a PS5. That should be my gift for myself.
Did you say remake? Like you haven't played remake? Wow. No, yeah, you need to get on that.
I know. I'm ashamed.
Well,
I watched some of the cutscenes.
We've got a nice goal for you though here, which is just become a teacher and you get a present. It's gonna be great.
There you go.
Easy.
Might as well. So there you go.
Dude, amazing stuff here. Adrian Holmes, I introduced you a second. You're just chronologically, it makes sense to talk to you next. I know that you and Garrett, of course, doing everything over with Super Gamer Boys. But what do you want to promote today? Any life updates that you want to give us?
Oh, good question. Nothing major. I mean, as far as like life stuff, but fun stuff. I just got an analog pocket and it rules.
Hey, nice. Welcome, pal.
Yeah.
That's a great little device. Have you popped a game on there yet?
I have. Been playing. Been bouncing back and forth between Pokemon and Link's Awakening, and they are both absolutely stunning.
And are we playing? What Pokemon game are we playing?
Oh, good old Red.
Ooh, lovely.
Okay.
So we got that, and then Link's Awakening DX or original?
Original.
Great.
I'm old.
Hey, dude, I love that. I love the original version. It's great. Yeah, and DX of course, but that's an amazing game. This isn't a Zelda focused episode, but I think that's like it was my fourth favorite Zelda. It's now fifth because Tears bumped it down a peg for me. But I love Link's Awakening. And of course, everything's going great with the Super Gamer Boys. Do you want to talk? I mean, as we sort of transition into Garrett too, do you two want to talk about your shows? I mean, the audience is familiar because you all have been on so many of the podcasts on the network. But give us a pitch on the show really quick.
I mean, yeah, it's me and Garrett once a week, usually Mondays. We go through all the big news that happened in the week prior and just kind of give our perspectives on it. And yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. Of course, you know, we got our bits and everything, and we do a mailbag where we read questions that people send in, and then just kind of catch up, you know, on the past week and see how each other's doing, checking in, all that jazz.
I love it. It's great stuff. Mm-hmm. And we've been doing some streams. I said I mean you guys. You all have been doing some streams both on your own, but you also have done some Super Gamer Boy streams today. Garrett, do you want to tell us about that at all?
Our streams, yeah. Well, we actually live stream our recording of the episode, similar to how this is being live streamed right now. And so Monday nights you can catch that. Tuesday nights Adrian typically streams. Thursday nights I stream. I've been playing through Kingdom Hearts 2.
Wow.
Which that's something. That's a game.
The GOAT. Watch your mouth.
And Adrian just kind of does whatever he wants, which is I envy him.
Sounds like me on stream.
And since I've been unemployed now for a couple of weeks, I've been doing other like surprise streams. So follow our channel, and you never know, I might be putting together like a Metal Gear mini or playing Kingdom Hearts 2 or something.
Oh gosh, yeah. I think before Garrett, you and I even officially met, you did some stream on the channel, and you were playing through. I think it was Sons of Liberty. Or something like that. And I remember popping in because you did some special stream one day, and I already knew Adrian, but watching you play Metal Gear is just a treat in general. But boys, thank you for being here on the show. Like I said, everything we plugged today, there's going to be links in the show notes. So you can go and please give this podcast a follow. It's a wonderful show. Follow them on socials too. They're always updating stuff over there. And is there any other housekeeping that I really need to take care of? I don't think so. So I'll go ahead and do a little preamble before I get us into these top 10s. For the listener at home, like I've already said, this is an episode where the three of these fine gents are going to be listing their top 10 favorite games from 10 to 1 in a snake-style format. And there are no rules that I've put on them. And there will probably be things that come up in my list that they're like, well, you could have told me that. Actually, no, I think I did give a heads up on this. But there's no real rules. So if someone wants to have 10 Mario Party games on their list, I think there's 10 of those. You could do that. There's no stipulations for me. I'm really excited to see. But the way that we kick this off every time is that I go through my personal top 10 and list that out for everyone because there's as I'm going through the years, folks, this list continues to get updated, and it usually only happens when I play like a monumental game that like rocks my world, or if I'm playing something that like revisiting something on my list, and I've done that a little bit recently.
Oh boy.
So I'll kind of get through this a little quick. I'll highlight the changes on my list. Still at number 10 is Halo Combat Evolved. That is the original Halo released for the Xbox on my 11th birthday, November 15th, 2001. And I will say, folks, me and the old stinker Jeremy Schmidt, we've been streaming through the Halo series on Tuesday nights. We call it Halo Hogs. I think everybody's like jumped in at some point to cheer us on, is how I'm going to describe it.
Oh, yeah.
The hog nights are fun. Oink, oink, as they say.
Yeah.
Playing Halos 1, 2, and we are one stream from finishing 3. I'm about to be at a real crisis point of, do I list my favorite nostalgic first-person shooter, or if I like both of 2 and 3 better than 1, the campaign at least, does that beat it for me? Currently, I don't have to make that choice. It's still Halo at number 9 or number 10. Number 9 is another first-person game, different style. It's an RPG. It's Skyrim. It remains on the top of my list, or near the bottom of my list in my top 10. Number 8 is Shadow of the Colossus for me. Number 7. Now this is the shakeup. Let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and see if I can get the exact. Portal 2 has jumped from, I believe I had it at number 8 or 9 to number 7. So it's a minimal change, but I replayed that game recently because I went out of town with my family and I brought my Nintendo Switch. I didn't think I was going to play anything. But sure enough, had some downtime at the end of the day, booted up Portal 2 just for fun. And folks, I blew through the whole thing. And
Wow.
it really reinforced, because I don't know, sometimes I play a game and I'm like, wow, that was amazing, and then I revisit it and I like it a little less. This I think I liked better. So Portal 2, hot game for me, only rising on my list.
Real quick, Connor.
Please.
Can I jump in?
Anytime you guys can. I keep getting scared to prompt you guys just in case any games are on list, but Adrian, feel free.
No. I was just curious because I can't fight you on Portal 2.
Yes.
However, in my book, of the two, while they are both fantastic, Portal 1 to me, which I've recently played, is an out and out masterpiece in my opinion. So yeah. I'm just curious, what makes you prefer 2 over 1 in this scenario?
Thank you for asking. I would also say that I totally agree. I think they're both masterpieces. I think that 1 is a cleaner game, and I think it's just it's like when I say simplicity, I don't mean that as a knock. I mean like very well executed simplicity is almost unmatched in any video game I've ever played. I think I prefer 2 because I really loved the additional concepts that they introduced and how they really sort of like did something that I feel like the Mario games generally can do well, like the platformers, where it's like, well, if you're doing this, then what's like the next step in that challenge? And revisiting 2, I was really happy to see that for me that held up. And I was like, oh, whether it's the goop stuff or gosh, there's other things, but just like throwing yourself around in that game using the physics, like I love it. So that's pretty much why 2 is ahead of 1 for me personally.
Nice.
My number 6, a game that hasn't budged in a while, and that's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. It's not the best Tony Hawk, but it's my personal favorite of them.
So many good memories with that game,
dude. Eddie and I Eddie, you're tied to like 2/3 of this list probably, dude. But yeah, it's my personal favorite.
Remember the videos on there? We used to watch the videos, like the skate videos of all the skaters, and we thought it was so cool that it was on the GameCube disc. Like we could watch these.
Dude,
like who was the street skater that was it Rodney Mullen?
Rodney Mullen, yeah.
Dude, crazy, so crazy.
Yeah.
Was that the one that had the song "Wish" by Alien Ant Farm? I think
genuinely off the top of my head, I don't know. Let me go THPS3. Soundtrack.
That wasn't Thug?
It was definitely on the soundtrack, Alien Ant Farm, but I don't know if that was Rodney Mullen's.
I feel like that was Thug.
Yes, Garrett. The answer is yes.
Oh.
That one, I remember it just, I forget what level. I think it was something inside like a warehouse, like one of the warehouse levels. And then I would just put that song, that would be the only song on the soundtrack on repeat. And just like, I love that.
That's
song
so funny.
So much. I mean, the whole soundtrack was amazing in that game, but I just remember like, there was a moment where I was just like, I just need to like rock out and just skate it out. Like I was feeling something at the time. Just turn on some Alien Ant Farm. Some Wish, and still to this day, like that song just will randomly flash into my memory and be like, oh, good old days.
I wonder if it was the factory. The factory is like the first level you do.
Might have been.
Where there's like a molten lava spilling. Well, it's probably not lava. It's probably like heated metal. But yeah, that game's amazing. The most recent one I played in the series was 4. I played that last spring or so, and 4 kind of blew me away in how much it expanded what the series does. But 3 is still my personal fave. My number so that was my number 6. My number 5 is Super Smash Brothers Melee. I wouldn't describe myself as like a Smash Brothers guy, but this game like dominated my life, and it's like definitely my favorite sort of fighting game ever. I know it's quite different than a traditional fighting game, but I got to revisit. This is another one that like every time I talk about it, I always tell the story about how Eddie got this for Christmas, and we were talking on the phone on Christmas Day because I was so excited to hear about his GameCube. And I go over, we finagle it so that our parents agree to let us hang out on Boxing Day, the day after Christmas. So I go to Eddie's house, turns on Melee on their big TV in the living room, and the opening cinematic happens, and I famously go, "It's a movie." I was so blown away by it, and it still gets me hyped to this day. But I will say, before I move on to my number 4, I got to play this game in January when some of the Video Games a Comedy show, like local LA guys or some of our friends, we did a gift exchange for the holidays, but like late in January. And I'm happy to report, folks, that I won a Smash Bros. Melee tournament, and I felt pretty good about it.
Nice.
Yeah. So anytime I get to brag about it, I do.
Now, Connor,
yes.
if it's any consolation, just be glad that you only had to wait a day. Because I got my GameCube on launch day, and Melee came out an entire week later.
Gosh.
So I had to wait a whole week for Melee to come out.
Play that game. Dang.
Yes.
You're rolling with Luigi's Mansion, Super Monkey Ball, Rogue Squadron.
I mean, I wasn't complaining, but
Yes.
everybody kind of knew Melee was on the horizon. So
yes. Such a special game. My number 4 is Pokemon Silver. It's my
solid.
Personal favorite. Like, I know it's not what you might consider a traditional JRPG, but it's my favorite. I could go back and forth between Soul Silver / Heart Gold and then the originals. And the originals still, I think, hold a really special place in my heart. So I have this there. They're kind of interchangeable. I love that. My number 3 is a game that I've started. Once again, folks, it's baseball season, so I've been playing Backyard Baseball 2001.
There it is. There it is.
Yep. It's really say the word Bart meme. But Backyard Baseball 2001. I've been replaying it just off stream for fun, and yeah, that game is forever going to be a part of me. My number 2 is Super Mario 64. It's not the best. I don't think it's the best Mario 3D platformer. I personally would say that was either Odyssey or Galaxy 2 personally, but it's my favorite, and it's the one that like kind of changed gaming for me as a kid, and that I like never tire of going back to. And that it's one of the few games too where I feel like I have full control of the character and I can do anything. And then I watch speedrunners, and I'm like, actually, I don't know what I'm doing. But Super Mario 64 is
Nice.
my number 2. And then, folks, as has been the case since I finished The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, that's tied as my 1B. So Tears of the Kingdom is my 1B favorite game. I do have a tie on my list. And then my number 1 remains The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Yeah, a game that, Ocarina was like my favorite game for the longest time. And then over the years, the more I would revisit Majora's Mask, the more I would just love it. So anyway,
Great list, Connor. Great list.
Thank
That
you
also
very much.
sounds like 11 games and not 10.
It's definitely 11 games.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Oh, I for sure
He's the
cheated.
host. He can do what he wants.
All right. All right. Cool,
So-
cool.
I'll go down this
There are
list.
no rules, right? So
It's true.
Apparently, there's one rule.
Yeah.
You gotta number your list. You have to it has to be ordered.
That kind of is.
That was established
is it,
off
right?
air right before the show.
Yes. So I'll go through this again. 10, Halo Combat Evolved. 9, Skyrim. 8, Shadow of the Colossus. 7, Portal 2. 6, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. 5, Super Smash Bros. Melee. 4, Pokemon Silver. 3, Backyard Baseball 2001. 2, Super Mario 64. And then tied at 1A and 1B, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. And Tears of the Kingdom. That's my list. The boring stuff's out of the way. Let's get this going. Mr. Garrett Morlang, we are going to start with you, pal.
Oh no, I was getting sweaty. I'm just nervous thinking about it. Now you called me out.
I might have to take off this flannel. I'm getting sweaty. Okay. Buddy, will you please tell us what your the number 10 on your list is? Your 10th favorite game ever.
All right, game number 10. I chose the
Metal Gear Solid digital comic.
Okay. Yeah, it's a graphic novel. It's a graphic novel. No, I'm kidding. I don't know any facts. If this fact is true, I'm pulling this out of my butt. But I would assume probably one of the best-selling games on the Xbox 360.
Ooh.
Halo 3.
Nice.
I think it's probably up there for the 360 being up, towards the beginning of that generation. Was it launch even? I don't remember exactly. I wasn't there at launch, but I think
it was 360. Like a year and a half later or so.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah.
07, I want to say.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Call of Duty 2 was a launch title.
Halo 3. I did not have any prior Halo experience. I was a PlayStation, a Sony pony, as they say, before that. And then, I don't know. What it kind of came down to, now that I think about it, is the price of the Xbox 360 significantly cheaper than PS3. PS3 was like, what, they started like $600 or something. Absurd. So we're like, hey, we're an Xbox family now. And we'd also moved into a new town, and I had some new friends, and they were all huge Xbox fans. So I'm like, all right, I'll give this thing a try. Traded everything in I owned, which makes me sad to this day.
Oh, wow.
I mean, that's how it was with every console. I always, moan and cry to Adrian because he saved all of his stuff growing up, and I'm like, I was an idiot. I traded everything in every time a new console came out. Now I have nothing.
I wasn't allowed to do that because my parents went through that, and they were like, nope, we're not doing that to you. So
yeah.
Now that's generational healing right there.
Oh man, yeah. Now I know with my kids, don't do it. But anyways, we just got rid of everything, got a 360, and got Halo 3. And let me tell you, that was a magical time. I knew nothing about the Halo series at all, so it was interesting jumping into the campaign mode, the story mode, not really having any background, but being like, all right, this world's cool. I don't know what's happening, but this seems sick. Spending
confused
hundreds of hours in Forge mode, just treating it like team deathmatch or free for all, but the ability to spawn whatever weapon and vehicle you want at any moment was just fantastic. It was so much fun. Like, you could have just played regular multiplayer mode, but like, nah, let's make this more chaotic, where we can just have unlimited rocket launchers and tanks and all sorts of craziness. Forge mode is top tier in my book. And yeah, I mean, I mentioned the story mode. That even still this day, I remember the ending of that game, just like taking off across the planet as it's blowing up, just the epic like music swelling. You're in the warthog, like holding on for dear life, trying not to fall into the cracks and crevices as the surface falls apart. Oh, so epic. So the introduction of the flood, like, I had no idea what the flood was.
Oh,
I don't know
wow.
I don't even know if they were in prior games, but seeing them and like being absolutely terrified at the oh man, it was such a like, I don't know, it was probably one of the most, like, the biggest, like, at that point in my life, like, blockbuster games I had played. Like, I'm trying to think of, like, because before that, like, yeah, on PlayStation I played, I mean, other than like the Metal Gear games and stuff like that, but this was different. This was like, I don't know, like summer blockbuster, like, Marvel movie level of just like, oh my gosh, this is so epic, especially for a kid. Before that, there's all like, smaller things on PlayStation and whatnot. So yeah, that was eye-opening to me, and such a good time. Yeah, getting into that,
dude. I know I talked about it already, playing the campaign right now, and it's like I like the campaign from 1. It's nostalgic. 2 improves a lot, but its difficulty spikes are really tough, but I still got through it. 3 is just incredible in every way. It's amazing. So, number 10, Halo 3 from Garrett. We'll move over to the Modesto myth himself, Eddie Martin. Buddy, tell us your number 10.
A lot of these games on my list. It was fun to actually putting this together because you think about the games that really impacted you, not necessarily like, what you think are the best games ever, but like the most meaningful to you. So my number 10 is a banger. It's Mega Man X, Super Nintendo. grew up with this game. We had it. I was really fascinated by it. The music, incredible. One of the best soundtracks I think ever in a video game. Loved like the enemies and my brother and I, we would like pretend to be X and Zero. Like he was older, so he'd be Zero, I'd be X. And, like we'd like run around like playing Mega Man. So just cool story. I like even the story itself is like X is like weak at first, but you get stronger as the game goes on. You get all these cool upgrades. You become like you could become like Zero at the end, which is really kind of a cool little story. And I don't care much for the other ones in the series, but the first Mega Man X, I love it. I would could play it to completion today. It's challenging enough too, to where it's not an easy game. And I just think it feels good still. It plays really good and it holds up really well. So Mega Man X, number 10. It's
so good. And hey, I think we got to shout out the most macho character in that game, Jill Penguin, of course.
Storm Eagle's probably my favorite character in the Mega Man series because I like his theme song. I like his stage. He's not that hard as a boss, but I just love Storm Eagle. Yeah. It's my jam.
Does that give you like the cyclone like wave after that just sort of like goes across the screen, sort of?
Yeah, that thing's overpowered. So good. the purple tornado that shoots out of you.
Yeah. This is one of a million games that you introduced to me to that like I still come back to. It's a game I've also never finished, but will turn it on and play it a bit, and I always love my time with it. But Mega Man X for you, fittingly you're number 10. We'll slide on over to Adrian Holmes, the just Bay Area beautiful lad himself. I'm not gonna do that for everyone. Why am I doing that? Adrian, hit us with your number 10.
I will, but I need to cheat real quick.
Hey, go for it.
So this list was really, really hard, and I would be remiss if I didn't do a pseudo number 11 real quick myself.
Please.
And it's just like Garrett, because it was actually a really formative time in my life. It was my teens as well, and that is also Halo 3. Halo 3, I would be coming from a history of playing Halo. So Halo 1, Halo 2, and then actually doing Halo 3. So the big midnight launch hype.
Oh, no way.
I was there. Yeah.
Where did you go to pick it up?
Oh, my local GameStop right here in town. So I was there. All my friends were there. We went and all picked it up and then went home and, started playing. And then...
Still haven't slept?
To this day. But I adore Halo 3. I think it's Halo perfected. I think no other Halo game has come close as a complete package to 3. It was a fantastic campaign, fantastic multiplayer, and the Forge was the best it had ever been. I can probably say that I have literal thousands of hours in Halo 3, just playing it with friends, playing the Forge maps, hopping on, just making stuff, goofing off and all that. So that really cemented a lot of the, we had been friends for a long time, but this is really like when we got solid was just over summers and years just playing Halo 3. So shout out to that game. I could not leave it off the list. However, my actual number 10, to Garrett's surprise, is Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriot.
Oh,
no way.
So low.
Dude,
so
I love that game.
Yeah, this is top 10 though, Garrett. So you got to imagine how many other things it had to beat out to get on the list at all. So
right.
Metal Gear Solid 4, if you ever heard me talk about it on the podcast or just talking with Garrett, is my favorite Metal Gear game out of all of them. I think it's Kojima at the height of his power. I think it's just the themes that it portrays of kind of the effects of war and even with Snake kind of being a metaphor of it, of just being an old, Titan that the world has passed him by and war isn't the same as it used to be, and just the toll that it takes on society. And I think to this day it's an absolutely gorgeous game. I remember when it first came out and you put in the disc to install it and it was just Snake smoking that cigarette and I was just looking at the model and being like, oh my God, how does this game look like this, dude?
For like 2 or 3 hours it took to install that game and just.
But I didn't care. I was just like, I was like, man, you can see the hairs in his mustache and everything. It was a trip. And then this is where I think the discourse about, oh, is it a game or is it an interactive movie? Who cares, brother? It's a masterpiece. All right. I think I told Garrett this too. I said, oh, some of the cutscenes are like what, half an hour, 40 minutes. That's no problem to me. Let me go get a sandwich. I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna, let Kojima tell me whatever story he wants to tell me. And I think of this game as, okay, if it's an interactive movie, that's fine, because this is the culmination of all of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got your gameplay in the last 3 games. So this isn't necessarily another full-on gameplay experience. You already did that. You've been Snake 3 times, or Snake or Big Boss 3 times in main games. And this is just like, all right, this is the wrap of the story. And I absolutely love it from top to bottom.
Dude,
so yeah.
I love it too. You were featured on the when we did the Metal Gear Solid Games Club 2 years ago. You are on the Guns of the Patriots episode, which is on a free feed on the Super NPC Games Club free feed. So if anyone is out here and they're like, I want to listen to an episode just on that game, go find it. There is a link in the show notes as well. But Adrian, I love that. So I love that game too, and I love the gameplay as well. Even though I would agree, there's a lot of extensive cutscenes, but I'm so tickled by the fact that you finally, after the fans not getting to actually play as Snake in 2 or 3, they finally get to do that in 4, but he's like old as hell. Yeah.
The ultimate troll by Kojima.
Yes.
I love it. I love it.
I love it too. Gosh, it's so good. Well, Adrian, we're gonna stay with you, and would you tell us your number 9 before we snake back?
Oh, sure. My number 9 is Cuphead.
Oh,
nice.
I had been waiting for this game. Well, let me back up a little bit. So I originally in life, if everything had gone, in some multiverse out there, another me is an animator, 100%. And old Disney and Fleischer and all those era cartoons are a huge influence on my understanding and perspective of art, as well as animation and expression. So when I heard that there was going to be a game that was focused on or based on the old Fleischer cartoons, I was immediately interested. And we waited and years went by and we didn't hear anything, and all of a sudden it came out from the ashes, and then it finally released, and it was everything that I wanted that game to be from top to bottom. I mean, it was just the level of detail and care in that game, not only aesthetically but gameplay wise. The soundtrack is all top tier. It's firing on all cylinders, and I love it to death. Yeah, I mean, I could go on about it and on and on. Like I said,
very challenging game.
That era, yeah, very challenging. But I did it. I 100%ed it because I love that game that much. Yeah, yeah.
Dang. Eddie, if you haven't played Cuphead, have you?
I beat Cuphead a
couple
years ago.
I was gonna be like, you'd love it.
I didn't
okay.
100% it like the legend over here. I didn't 100% it, but I did beat the game. I had some rage moments in that game.
Are you kidding?
And yeah, rough stuff.
They really bring you to the edge of humanity in that game.
Low moments.
Yeah.
Oh. I said some things.
They came out with the Delicious Last Course DLC. There's not plans for a sequel that we know of, correct?
Not that we know of. But even the DLC was phenomenal.
That's cool.
It was on the same level, if not better, than the original. So, Shout out to Studio MDHR, dude. They are some wizards over there.
Amazing. I love it. Your number 9 is Cuphead. Eddie, we're back to you. Let's hear yours.
Number 9 is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4: Turtles in Time.
Yeah,
for
baby.
Super Nintendo. What can I say about this game that hasn't been said already? I mean, I was featured on the Turtles in Time episode. Cowabunga, Mikey. I use the nunchucks. I'm a Mikey guy.
Dude, you were though. There's a co-op episode it's still behind the Patreon paywall, but it's coming out at some point where people can hear that. But anyway, you're talking about the game.
No, just again, fantastic soundtrack. It feels good. It's fun to play. Still holds up. Thousands of hours into this game, and I loved Shredder's Revenge. I adored that game. I absolutely adore it. But that's
what I was going to ask you real quick is how close was Shredder's to knocking this off for you?
Pretty close.
Okay.
But Turtles in Time is still, it just means more to me.
Yeah. I've played that with Eddie a bunch, and for a while I had, or do I still have your copy down here?
You still have my copy.
I still have your copy. It's in like, it's one of the few games that I still have like the Super Nintendo cartridge condoms for, so I put that on it just because I'm like, hey, I'm borrowing this. I got to be responsible. We've played that a bunch together. I think we all played Shredder's Revenge together when it came out.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
That was a good time.
That was a blast.
One of the best gaming experiences I've ever had, gentlemen, and I appreciate you all for that.
2 Saturdays in a row just playing that game on like Zoom together. I loved it.
Yep.
Amazing.
I'll never forget it.
Yeah. No, that was like truly a highlight of the whole year for me. Garrett, we're back to you, pal. What's your number 9?
Oh boy. My number 9 is Crash Bandicoot Warped.
Whoa.
Ooh, okay.
I almost said 2, but I don't know. In the end, I ended up sliding over to Warped only because it had. I love Crash Bandicoot. I mean, I was a PlayStation kid, grew up with the original Crash Bandicoot, Crash Bandicoot 2. I have the memory that I share on our podcast about. It was like the Christmas gift where my parents somehow snuck it outside in the snow. We came home from somewhere. We were like out for the night, and we came home, and it was like sitting in the snow. Like, oh, must have fell out of Santa's sleigh. I wonder. It was like a wrapped gift outside. And,
that's awesome. That's really sweet.
We went inside. We're like, oh my gosh, there's one there for me, one for my brother. Like, well, how did this happen? Like, as a kid too, it was a fun thing. You know, we'd stay up late and watch like the NORAD tracker thing, Santa track. You watch them go around the world and stuff like that. So it'd be like, oh, he's almost to the East Coast. You better go to bed. We like rushed home from her grandma's house and saw these gifts and opened it up. And like Christmas Eve, I popping that Crash 2 in and playing it. So I have a soft spot for Crash 2, but Crash 3, Crash Warped, just overall was. So this is a mixture between like not only nostalgia just for the series in general, but also like I kind of picked the better one, I think, out of the series as far as like the controls were so good, the power-ups, double jumps, the spins, like everything felt so good. I love the fun little mini games in there. Like that's the one that had like you could shoot the plane, do the plane ones. They also had the classic like polar bear ones. They had the scuba levels, like you're underwater, like diving and stuff like that. They just went all out on Warped. The boss battles were fantastic. All the different time zones, with going like prehistoric to the futuristic and everything in between. My favorite being like the medieval levels where it's like the knights and stuff spinning around, and just absolute silliness that I loved. I love that whole series, but 3 Warped I think is my number 9. Just such a fantastic game, and that was kind of like the last Crash game for a while I can think of that we played. Or when did Crash Bash? No, I played Crash Bash. You remember that one? I was like just a pure like basically Mario Party but Crash Bandicoot.
I don't, but now I have to.
I think it came out afterwards, so I played that one. That one was very, very good. But yeah, overall fantastic series. I wish I could have picked the whole series, but if I had to pick one, Warp just had great controls, great, like for the time it's still PS1 graphics, but like they really maxed out the PS1 graphics in my opinion. Just the worlds, the abilities, everything in that.
Just an early Naughty Dog like home run.
I was gonna say those 100%. Naughty Dog guys, they're going places, man.
Yeah, they're gonna do some good stuff. They like I played. This is the game. I was about to go on a tangent. I don't need to do that. This was my introduction to the series, Garrett, and I didn't have a PlayStation growing up, so I would play games like this at a friend's house. And so when I finally got a PlayStation 1 in the summer of 2020, this is one game I was sure to get was Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped. And I played it. I played like through the first, I think, world or whatever, and I want to go back. So this is a good reminder that it's there. While we're here, we did your number 9. I'd love to hear your number 10. Or sorry, your number 10. You already did that. Your number 8. Did I forget how to count up?
All right, my number 8 is Gex Enter the. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I was gonna say.
That would be a nice Chad pick.
Gex over Crash. Oh man. I mean, Gex Under the Gecko. That'd be like a number 11 for me. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I love that game to death, but it's a terrible game. No, my actual number 8, right? That's what we're doing now. Is
we are
Dead Space.
Ooh.
Solid.
Another one of your 360 era games.
Yeah, so this was one I believe I did, originally play it on 360. Later on, I did eventually get a PS3 right at the tail end of the generation. It's Black Friday deal. I got it for like $150.
Oh my gosh.
The super slim PS3.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Dead Space, was still Xbox 360 era when I still was owned that. And let me tell you, like, this was 2007 when the original one came out, right? It might have been one of my
the original Dead Space.
Yeah,
I want to say 07, 08.
It was pretty early on, like the beginning of my like horror game career.
Interesting
thing. Because I think because at the same time there was this and there was Left 4 Dead by Valve.
Yes.
Right? And World at War, Call of Duty World at War with zombies mode. The secret zombies mode. That almost made my list, honestly. World at War.
Wow.
Playing through the story campaign, the credits roll, and then all of a sudden it flashes up with zombies. It's like, oh my gosh, you gotta be kidding me.
Wow.
But no, Dead Space is a certified classic across the board. Incredible story. Just for the time, like the visceral graphics and violence and like everything about it was just awe-inspiring in a sense. I actually loved how kind of like tanky and slow your character was. It had so much just tenseness to the situations where it's like, I can't just like bolt out of here real fast. This isn't Crash Bandicoot. This is I'm this lumbering slow dude with these really inaccurate weapons, and basically you're just tools. So Dead Space right up there. The atmosphere in that game. The remake, I picked it up last year when it came out and played like the first hour, and immediately is just like honestly playing that's like almost like how I remember the original one.
Oh yeah.
Which is wild because you got to go play the original one. They're like, it does not look like that, doesn't feel like that, doesn't sound like that. But the remake is fantastic, and but the original one I think is what makes it on the list.
Dude, very nice. I'm glad to hear that you enjoyed the remake too. I know that got so much love last year when it came out.
Too bad they're not making the remake of the second one though.
Dude, did that just break your heart when you heard that?
When I saw that, I was like, you gotta be kidding me. We talked about it on our podcast a couple weeks ago, and it's just like, shoot, like just because it didn't hit their sales numbers or whatever, it's like it probably sold like gangbusters, killed, but
it did.
They don't care. EA, whatever.
Gosh, just awful. Well, that was your number 8. Thank you, Garrett. We'll move to Adrian before Eddie pops back to talk about his number 8. But Adrian, let's go to you now and hear your number 8.
Sounds like a plan. My number 8 is my favorite fighting game of all time, Marvel vs. Capcom 2.
Ooh, gonna take us for a ride, are you?
I absolutely am. That game is just, I don't know how to explain it, man. It's everything that I would want in a fighting game in one go, right? It's like super ultra combos, fast pace, all the different characters clashing together, 3-on-3, and it's I could just go on and on and on about that game. I played it in the arcade. I started playing it in the arcade. I played it on Dreamcast. I have it on PS2. I got it again when they released it with the online play. What was that, like 360 and PS3?
Whoa.
Yeah, no, that game is amazing. And that's another one where I spent a bunch of hours with friends just playing matches and matches and matches late into the night. I mean 3 is good. It's not nearly as good as 2. I think that was just honestly a moment in time where everything just lined up, the stars lined up and brought us that game. So hopefully if the rumors are true, they're gonna be re-releasing it again, and I'll be first in line. So
gosh, that would be good. If you just in a vacuum had to pick your team of 3, what's your team of 3 and who would you send out first?
So my team of 3 was usually Rogue, Captain America, and Akuma would be my 3. I usually send Captain America out because he usually has the most HP. He doesn't hit very hard. So I'll send him out to kind of do a little bit of chip damage, and he has really good combos that you can capitalize off of.
Oh,
So I'll get Cap out there, and I'll have him do the Final Justice, where he does a series of hits, and then normally he'll pick you up and slam you. But right before he picks you up, that's when I'll switch out to Rogue's combo, and she just does a flurry of fists back and forth across the screen, so you can just kind of, capitalize on that.
wow.
Yeah.
Goodness gracious. An amazing game. I'm pretty sure I've only ever played the Dreamcast version, but it's phenomenal. I get wiped every time, but I love it.
Yeah. Then you've played the best one, because that's a 1-to-1 port of the arcade one.
Okay, huge. So, yeah, it's so good. That's amazing. Before we, and I think we'd be going back for your 7, but before we do that, Eddie, let's get your number 8 while we're here.
Sorry, the kiddo had a little meltdown.
Hey, dude, we are here. We're moving. We're grooving. We're adjusting. We got you, buddy.
He is fast asleep now, so that's the good thing.
Huge, but truly no worries, pal. I got you.
A little whiskey always helps. Yeah.
Okay.
It worked for Garrett's kids.
All right, so my number 8 is MVP Baseball 2005.
My absolute prince. I'm sorry that it's not on my list, but gosh, what a good one.
I was back and forth between this and Backyard Baseball, so I feel your pain. But it's my favorite sports game of all time. I think it's the best baseball game ever. I don't think it's ever going to be beat. I'm not alone in that thinking. So that's my number 8.
Dude, so good. Just remember the seasons we would play in this game, and you also got into all like the mini games, like the hitting like challenges and stuff. Like this game just kept giving gifts.
I'm sorry, he's crying again.
Dude, you're
he's
totally
really
fine.
Having a rough night, guys. I'm so sorry.
No, you're truly no big deal. But we got your number 8. That's huge for us. You feel free to do your thing, pal.
Okay, I'll be right back. Sorry.
Yeah, you're good. And we can't even hear it, so you're good. Adrian, we were gonna get your number 7, as well. So why don't we get that while we're here?
Alrighty. Okay. My number 7 is Transistor.
Oh wow, some Supergiant
from the good folks at Supergiant Games, aka my favorite independent game studio of all time. I think this game is a straight up masterpiece. But then again, I say that about every Supergiant game.
Yes.
Supergiant Games has not made a bad game in my eyes. They are the only. Well, I'd say what? There's probably 5 studios that have made games of that caliber and has not yet to miss. Even the play test for Hades 2, people are saying, is already phenomenal. So that studio is on a different level, dude. And I adore all the games that they've brought out so far, but Transistor is my favorite. I think it's just the aesthetic, the kind of cyberpunky future mystery, tactic. I don't know, tactical gameplay of it just all lined up and worked for me. And the soundtrack is A1. I actually got to meet the composer and the woman who voiced the main character Red, and they signed all my soundtracks in my game and stuff like that. So that was pretty awesome. This game is just, it's so good, top to bottom. I always recommend it whenever. I am such a big fan of Supergiant Games that whenever the games go on sale, like on Switch, I think they're like $2 or $3. I always tell people, I say, yo, I will buy, if I know you in real life, I will buy you a copy of these games because they are that good. I just want you to play them, So yeah, dang. Transistor is there.
That's amazing.
You even did like one of our Super Indie Boy episodes about that, right? On our YouTube channel. So yeah, it's a 5-6 minute long video, but you'd kind of little love letter to Transistor to get people to play it. It's a good one.
Yes,
dude, amazing. Is the composer for that also Darren Korb?
Yeah, he does all their stuff.
God, that guy's amazing.
He was awesome and genuinely nice dude.
Oh, that's so good to hear. That and Bastion, I like are like several of a million games that I'd love to play someday. Now knowing of Supergiant because of Hades, I'm like, yeah, I'd love to play those, and I bet they're amazing. That's amazing. That was your number 7. We'll go to you now, Garrett, and let's get your number 7.
Yeah. My number 7. So I wrote down Rock Band, But I think it's almost like Rock Band / Guitar Hero 2. It's all kind of the same time period there.
Not mad at it.
But I think Rock Band kind of edges it out because it introduced the whole band aspect.
Yeah.
Me and my brother and my cousins could all play together and not have to fight over the 2 guitars,
Yes.
And it was the move from playing Guitar Hero 2 on PlayStation 2 to Rock Band on 360 and PS3, so even like the graphical jump and stuff like that. So yeah, Rock Band is, man, my entire like personality at the time, and maybe even a little bit still today, and like my music taste, everything was like formed from Rock Band.
Yeah.
Like, getting deep into like just that rocker culture and stuff like that, and getting into getting exposed to all this vast range of music from different decades, rock music from like, all right, I got stuff from like 50s and 60s in there all the way up to like 90s and early 2000s and everything in between. To this day, I have a Rock Band / Guitar Hero playlist on Apple Music that I'll just pop on, and it's just some of the best from that. And I was my favorite instrument was the drums.
Oh, drum guy.
In real life, I played drums at the time, and I was like, heck yeah, this is it. But it was like always a fight between me and my one cousin, and he owned the game, so usually he got to do drums, which meant I got delegated to microphone. So I was the singer. I was vocals, which I hated at first, but then after I got good at it, I'm like, honestly, this is great. Like, we're just rocking out here. Like, they're jamming on the drums, the guitar, bass, and I'm just like killing it on vocals, getting like up there, like 99-100% on songs.
Wow.
Like, yeah, I'm good at
That's
this.
how you know it's a good game. If any one of the 4 is fun to play, you got a good game on your hands.
Yeah. So I absolutely adore Rock Band. I mean, that was even early on, like the I don't know. For me, I just love the character customization too, with what outfit you're gonna wear, getting into the nitty gritty of your instrument. Like, all right, how's it gonna look, and the different skins and colors and all that. Just that time of having those like rhythm games was such a moment in time that will probably, I don't know if it'll ever happen like that again, especially with how things, the idea of like couch co-op games have disappeared for the most part. Everything's online. It's just not the same to like, imagine if I was sitting alone. I think it eventually added online play with later Guitar Heroes and stuff like that, but it just sounds so weird to me. Like, oh, I'm sitting at home playing drums with some guy in another country with playing guitar or something.
Yeah.
Like, no, there's something about having like 20 people in a room, 15 people in a room, and just taking turns, like jumping in, like, all right, get on the guitar, get on drums, get on mic. Oh, such a good moment. Basically
It's
putting on a
different.
show for the family. Like, that's what it felt like. Like, all the aunts and uncles are in the back just watching us just rock out and loving it. So, good times.
Gosh, that's such good stuff. And it was a game that, like, other people, both of those games, whether it's Guitar Hero or Rock Band, that non-gamers were interested in.
Mm-hmm.
Because of that rhythm aspect, and it was like, oh, I get this. I'm looking at a plastic guitar. I can figure this out. And so, yeah, that was so much fun. I remember, like, I had Rock Band on the Wii and Guitar Hero 3, and I think it was like maybe that was like my 17th or 18th birthday, had Rock Band set up and people were playing it in like my parents' living room. And yeah, just such good stuff. I love that. Okay, I didn't even write it down. Rock Band.
Just Rock Band. Yep, the first one. Everyone always loved the second one. I actually didn't play much of the second one. First one was because at that point we moved away from family, and so moved out of the country. So like, all right, yep, that kind of lost that for a little bit. But yeah, the first one holds a special place in my heart there.
Yeah,
12-hour runs of Rock Band.
Oh my gosh. You better be getting time and a half at that job. That is amazing. Well, let's stick with you for the time being, and let's get your number 6.
All right. Number 6 is a Pokemon game. And
I bet I can guess based on your age.
Okay.
I was going to say, but now I feel like I'm wrong, but I was going to say like Ruby or Sapphire.
How old do you think I am? And then secondly, what game do you think it is?
I'm pretty sure you're like 4 years younger than me. I think you're 29. Okay, and so I'm guessing Ruby and Sapphire.
Okay. you're 1 year off on my age. I'm 30.
Congratulations.
So I hit the big 3. I'm supposed to be a grown-up adult now, I guess. I don't know. And yes, you are correct. It is Ruby. Pokemon Ruby.
Sorry to spoil it, but
no. I was honestly kind of shocked that you guessed it. That was great. Don't get me wrong. I had yellow because my brother had red. And I had like a cousin who had blue, and then I ended up with yellow. So it's kind of like we all got different ones. That way we could trade stuff. And then even like with silver, it was different. I had silver, and I had a cousin who had gold. Love silver to death, but boy, there was something about Ruby. I think for me, what it was, it's wrapped up with a nostalgia of my brother got a Game Boy. My younger brother, he got a Game Boy Advance before I did. So I had the Game Boy Color and had it forever. Loved it to death. Ran it into the ground. But in the Game Boy Advance, he'd let me play it once in a while. He was a punk younger brother, wouldn't let me take it. I just wasn't, so usually it's the older brother who's like the punk and the bully. No, my brother was just like, no, I'm not gonna let you play it. Like, oh, please let me. So I saved up, and by the time I saved up enough money, the Game Boy Advance SP came out.
Oh yeah.
And so I got that silver SP.
Ooh, clean,
shiny, it was glorious piece of hardware. Slide that Ruby in. That's why I got both of those. I got at the same time. I walked in. I'm like, I want that. I went to. The only place we could find it was a Toys R Us, like an hour and a half, 2 hours away.
No
like we searched
way.
Because they were sold out everywhere. Every Walmart, every GameSpot, everything.
You
like
went in there and slammed that birthday and Christmas money right on the counter. Bam.
We were calling places trying to find this Game Boy and this Pokemon game. Some of them had one and not the other one. Some had, it was always this it was hard to nail it down. And finally, like this Toys R Us that was like almost a couple hours away had it. We're like, get in the car now, we're going. Come on, Mom and Dad.
We got the call from the giraffe. They've got it.
Like, who are you talking to?
They've got the goods. But yeah, pulling in there, and I remember getting out in the car, and by this point it was far away. It's late at night. It was like pitch black, but with my Game Boy Color, I had to have my little light so I could see everything. Firing up that SP, just a spotlight in my face, in the back seat. I could actually see the screen, backlit screen. Jumping into some Ruby, the music, the soundtrack, the new Pokemon that I finally got to experience, because everyone had been talking about the new generation for so long. I'm like, just they were my silver, which is a great game, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, I just loved all the advancements with Ruby, and wrapped up in the nostalgia of getting that new console and stuff. That's top tier for me. And honestly, that was the last one I ever played for a long time. Like,
wow.
After that, I never got a DS or any other handheld. So Ruby was my last one for, a lot, like 15 years or something like that, till picked up Switch with Sword and Shields.
Wow. Dude, I love that you immediately got to put the benefit of the SP in practice as soon as you bought it.
Yeah, it was fantastic. Like,
it probably won you over immediately.
It was like, yep, I'm sold. This is great. I don't have to have that stupid little worm light anymore. It drains my battery.
The worm light.
I had a little lime green worm light, and it was pretty pathetic.
Yeah. You had to do what you had to do, man.
True.
It didn't really help that much. You could still barely see. You're still like this.
Yeah.
Like,
Gosh. Garrett, if you had to say, do you have a favorite starter from that generation?
I was a fire guy, and so that would have been Torchic, right?
Yeah, so I think so.
I always went fire. I always liked the idea of was it Totodile was water type. I thought
that's Gen 2.
I think
Mudkip was 3.
Oh, Mudkip, yes. Well, yeah, Mudkip too. I always liked Mudkip. Grass, I couldn't care less. I don't like.
Watch it.
I've
Take
never
it easy.
liked grass type.
I'm cracking my knuckles over here.
But
you don't like defense, is what you're saying. Got you.
No, I'm all offense.
You're a glass cannon.
To this day, I love seeing those memes on Instagram where it's like, remember when we were kids and all we picked was the abilities that just do damage? Like anything else, throw it away. I'm like, I'm still like that. Like when I play Pokemon, all damage all the time. Who cares about special abilities? Just kill it.
Dude.
How you going to catch the legendary? You got to have strategies.
Kill it with fire. Throw a Master Ball. Hope for the best.
Oh my gosh. That's amazing, Garrett. I wouldn't, I mean, I feel like I know about each of you and some of your gaming tastes, and that was a fun surprise for me. I didn't know I would even see a Pokemon on your list, so cool. Eddie Martin, my freaking pal here. That was the first generation that you and I skipped.
Yeah. I heard we were talking Wormlights.
Yeah. Oh, brother, we were.
You skipped the best gen?
Well, we didn't. Nuts. Well, A, we didn't know, and B, I would assume it was a similar thing for Eddie, but I don't want to speak for him. In that, like, I kind of like got it, like grew. It wasn't cool anymore. Like, I was getting into junior high, and
too cool for it.
I wish I would have just tried it, but I was like, oh, too cool for Pokemon.
Cool, man. Pokemon's always cool.
Gosh, it's a lesson I learned later. But speaking of another skipper of Gen 3, Eddie Martin, I would love to hear your number 7 favorite game of all time.
Okay, number 7 for me is Final Fantasy IV, which is also
Solid.
on the Super Nintendo. A lot of games on the Super Nintendo for me. I don't think it's the best Final Fantasy, but it's my favorite. It's the one that means the most to me. It helped me learn how to read, so there's that. Because you had to do a lot of reading for Final Fantasy, and I was like 3 years old. So, no, Final Fantasy IV for sure is my number 7.
Dude, I love that. I think that was, outside of Pokemon, my introduction to RPGs, specifically JRPGs, being over at your house. And I still have the opening music of the Red Wings, the bum 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 bum. It's just so good. That game is amazing. Yeah. I have it on the Virtual Console on my Wii U, and
nice.
And I got the Game Boy Advance version. Do you have a favorite character in that game?
Probably Kane. I mean, Kane's the most complex, interesting character. I mean, he's a little bit of an insult, but he's great.
Yeah, he's our Dragoon sweetie.
Yeah,
conflicted.
Yes.
Yeah, he's very conflicted. He at least is the most interesting character. I
totally. Think. Amazing. Final Fantasy IV. I should have known that would be on there. While we're here, buddy, I'd love to get your number 6 as well.
Yes, get us caught back up on and everything. Again,
Heck yeah.
Appreciate you guys.
Dude, for sure, man. It's truly no big deal at
all. Number 6, another RPG. It's Super Mario RPG Legend of the 7 Stars on Super Nintendo. Yes, back-to-back RPGs for me. This was one of those first games that was my game, you know? I got it for Christmas. And I had the strategy guide. I was very obsessed with it. And I felt really connected to this game because it belonged to me. My brother wanted to play it, he'd have to ask me to play it. That's that type of ownership. But no, it still holds up well. I still have my copy. I love it. It's just fun. The time-based action is fun, replayable, and it's just all around good time.
God, it's just one of the most charming games I've ever played. Another one of the many that I'm sure are going to be on your list of games that I was introduced to at your house and always fell in love with, but didn't have myself until years later. It's amazing. Do you happen to be? Are you I want my party to be the Mushroom Kingdom people, like Mario, Toadstool, Bowser? Do you like Geno?
As a kid, I was Toadstool and Bowser all the time.
Toadstool and Bowser.
But as I got older, and it was fun to use Mallow because certain abilities he had were just pretty powerful. And Geno, I mean, I thought Geno was cool as a kid, so
Geno's cool now.
Yeah, Geno's cool now. I like to switch it up, but it's hard not to have Princess in there because she's the healer. You got to have the healer.
Truly,
she's kind of essential.
Yeah, amazing, dude. And you did not play the remake, correct?
Nope.
No?
Nope.
Well, the original holds up so freaking well. I think the remake looks amazing, but I feel like you could just stick with the original if you really wanted.
Yeah, I just didn't. It's funny because I remember multiple people text me when that trailer came out on the Direct, and I watched it and I was like, I don't feel great about it. I don't know what it was. I maybe because this game means so much to me and it was, so meaningful that I didn't really think a remake was necessary. But I was also excited for those who would play it who hadn't played the original to become a fan of the game because I think the game's great. So
totally,
that just hasn't really hit me to where I feel like I need that.
Sure,
but also I'm not against it. If that makes sense.
Absolutely. Gosh, and we're on just the the moment where we're about to get another Mario RPG remake in the Thousand Year Door, which like looks. At first, I was like, I've got my GameCube copy. I don't need it. The more I see from this game, the more I'm like, I kind of really want this. So it's exciting times for us. Adrian Holmes, we're back to you, pal. Let's get your number 6.
My number 6 is Super Smash Brothers.
Yeah. 64.
The OG.
Yep. I will probably be in a nursing home if I live to see it, and be talking about. Remember that commercial that came on when Mario and Donkey Kong and Pikachu and Yoshi were all starting to fight each other? I remember it like it was yesterday when they started fighting, and I said, "What in the world is going on?" And then they showed the footage of the game, and I think this part of the memory is fuzzy, but I know my brother was in there, and I feel like my dad was in there, and we all looked at each other and said, we have to get this.
Yeah.
we have to get this. So we got that, and then I cannot tell you how many hours. It was me and my brother and my dad. We would always play, and man, just a lot of good memories with that game. And it spawned, of course, a multi-decade series, which is bigger than it's ever been. But whenever I think of Super Smash Brothers, that's the first place that I think of is, in our family room, everybody, in the same room, everybody's got a controller, and we're going at it on the Star Fox ship.
Dude, I still love that game. I think that like it's pretty close to Melee as far as hours that I've spent with it, which is amazing because 64 has, I don't know, half the content, maybe less. But it was so amazing, and I loved getting in. It introduced me to so many, like I think a lot of kids at the time, so many like franchises I didn't know about. I was like, who the hell is Ness? What? Who's this little baby boy?
I don't know who he is. No idea.
And you may never.
We'll fix that.
Yes. Adrian, who was your main in 64?
My main has been the same, and it's been Samus to this day.
Nice. Samus. Very cool, dude. I love that. Super Smash Brothers, your number 6. Well, let's move back to our Buther. I want to say Bud and Brother, and it came out as Buther. That's embarrassing. Eddie, we're back to you, buddy. Number 5, if you will.
Number 5. It's crazy. I did 3 RPGs back to back to back. So my number 5 is Chrono Trigger.
Oh.
I've talked at length how much I love this game. Mostly it comes up in conversation when I talk video games.
Yes.
Missed the boat on Super Nintendo on this one. The first experience was with an emulator in 8th grade. I remember Connor remembers.
Officer?
I was like, yeah, I know. Yeah, hopefully the feds aren't listening. I do own it. Hey, I own the DS version. Okay, so I do own the game. To be fair, if you retroactively, anyway.
Skating on thin ice there, bud.
Really. No, it's funny because like most people our age, I loved Dragon Ball Z growing up, and I used to go on. So my mom was a computer lab teacher, right? And I used to go on those Angel Fire sites to get like Dragon Ball Z GIFs. And
I still think about them.
Right? I'd save the GIFs and put them in PowerPoint because PowerPoint would like animate the GIFs, so you could like make stories out of like the GIFs, right? But you see characters that you didn't really know about yet because the Japanese episodes hadn't come out. I'd see pictures of Chrono, and I'm like, "Who's this character? Is he from Dragon Ball Z? Like, he looks awesome." I had no idea who he was, but when I actually got to play the game, it was like everything I've ever wanted in an RPG. Still holds up. I still love playing it. I probably play it every couple of years, play it through just to enjoy it. So, fun story, fun characters, all around good times, good music, great soundtrack.
Like
soundtrack is perfect.
It really
I love
is.
listening to the soundtrack.
The dream team came together to make it.
Yeah.
So
there you go. 3 RPGs.
95 Bulls? Is that what you're talking about? 95 Bulls of game development?
The 95 Bulls.
We need a Last Dance documentary on that development.
Yes.
You joke, but I would 100% watch that.
Gosh,
I'd crowdfund it.
I wish we would have gotten that before Toriyama passed away. That would have been so great.
Yeah.
But yeah, considered by some to be the greatest game that ever was made, and I can hear an argument for that for sure. Chrono Trigger, your number 5. Garrett, we're back to you. What's your number 5?
Oh boy, my number 5 is God of War, the 2018.
I've heard you talk a bit about this game.
Revisiting. I don't know if it's a remaster. Not really. Continuation. Yes, God of War on the PlayStation 4. Man, it was interesting about this is because when I initially played it, I wasn't super interested in it. I was really excited about it leading up to it, and then I played like a little bit, and I'm like, this is whatever. I think I talked about this on my Call Me by Your Game episode,
I think
actually.
You did,
so
yeah.
if you could hear the same story if you go listen to me back then. But I jumped back in later after having my first kid. And let me tell you, that changes your perspective on the whole like father-son story when you're sitting there on the couch holding your newborn baby on your chest.
Aww.
It's just like, oh my gosh, I'd do anything for this freaking kid. And just watching Kratos struggle with that, which is like, I mean, for the longest, obviously the story is like the mother raised the kid and now he has to kind of take care of this kid. But like watching that bonding happening and the whole thing is just a very emotional story at the time. Again, a lot of these are, I've kind of given a lot of backstory. A lot of these are very much tied to so much happening in my life and nostalgia at the time.
Perfect for this podcast, honestly, dude.
Yeah. But yeah, this game just emotionally at the time and like what I was going through, and not only that, but just gameplay wise, like this is another series. I never played God of War 1, 2, or 3. Never touched any of the God of War games. I started with this one. And let me tell you, it was a perfectly fine place to start because, I mean, they pick up the story in a good way. Like, they don't really even reference the earlier games until later on in the game. And then, but the graphics were just out of this world. The story was incredible. The soundtrack is so good. That's another one. Let's crank on that soundtrack, listen to that while I'm, like, working or studying or something like that.
Bear
so
McCreary.
Bear McCreary is the man. And then gameplay as well. The various combinations with abilities you can get and the weapons and all that runes and skill trees, and I don't know, it was such a fun RPG light kind of game, if you can call it that, because it's just with all like the skill tree type stuff. Like, all right, you can build Kratos kind of however you want. It was a lot of fun. So yeah, God of War 2018.
So good. Gosh, I think I was 4 years late to that game and basically just couldn't put it down after I picked it up. It's speaks for itself. It's absolutely amazing.
Nice.
Did you, Garrett, play Ragnarok?
I did.
Okay,
yes.
Cool. Me too.
Yeah, that game also very good, but like initially I was extremely high on it, and then by the time I finished it, it was a feeling of like, oh, this is good, but not like I don't feel like it's necessarily better than the first one. Like it kind of just felt like, oh, it's more the same, which isn't bad because God of War was incredible, but I feel like there wasn't enough like innovation for me to be like, it's as better than the original, because I don't know, you want that with a sequel for it to like knock it out of the park and be like, all right, let's keep pushing and be better and better.
Yeah,
I was like, okay, the first one was incredible. This one's just on that same level. I feel like it didn't necessarily do more, but very good game. Love the second one.
I ended up in a pretty similar place, like what you're saying about the I guess the sequel. That's your number 5. I'm looking at our list here, and Adrian, I don't think I've asked you about your number 5 yet, so I kind of want to go to you. Am I correct in that?
Yes, you are correct.
Let's go back to you then, and then we'll start snaking back around.
Alrighty. So my number 5 is The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild.
Ooh.
Yeah. This, in my opinion, is the Zelda formula or the Zelda experience perfected. I have said before, and I still stand by this, that this is when Miyamoto was thinking of Zelda in the 80s, right? This Breath of the Wild is the game that he saw or that he wanted to make in his head, but he was constrained by the technology at the time. And I think that Breath of the Wild is the culmination of if he could have made Zelda for the first time today, it would have been Breath of the Wild. Just with the amount of freedom, of exploration, you can just go on a random adventure if you want to. You could do something in the main quest, but there's so much in the world that you can do, right? And I remember, this dropping the same day as the Switch, and just it had been unlike any other Zelda that we'd had before. Yeah, we've had 3D Zeldas, but none of them were like this. I mean, there've been elements of it, but this is the first time that I really think that they've kind of done a full remix of what it is, what a Zelda game is. And also going to plant my flag in the ground here. This is 100% a Zelda game. This is probably the most Zelda of a Zelda game that there's ever been.
No
well, you got the people who are like, well, it doesn't have dungeons. It's never been about the dungeons. It's never been about the dungeons were a part of it, but it's about exploration and going on an adventure. So yeah, and don't misunderstand me. Tears of the Kingdom is the better game of the two. I will not debate, or I will not fight anybody on that if they have that opinion. But I think for me, the impact and the introduction of that Zelda formula hit more with Breath of the Wild. And I think, just like we were talking about Ragnarok, Tears of the Kingdom is more of a good thing. I don't think it was lesser than Breath of the Wild. They stand equal for me. But I think, I don't think lesser of either game. I don't think Breath of the Wild is worse than Tears. I don't think Tears is worse than Breath of the Wild at all. But just because that hit first.
Amazing. And I think that too, you've had so many great points about this game, that it came at this needed to happen, I think, for the Zelda series. And this is my favorite franchise, period. Like, I adore the majority of the series, but also it had gotten quite stale by the time Skyward Sword was done. And I will also argue that Link Between Worlds did some of that legwork to take a couple baby steps towards Breath of the Wild, like many people have said, but it was just so well timed, and with the Switch launch too, it's a home run. Amazing game. Yep. Well, another game that's is this the best game ever? Maybe.
Maybe.
It's so good.
I couldn't fight you if you said it was. Yeah. Honestly.
Right.
Adrian, we're gonna stick with you, and start with and go to your number 4 at this point.
My number 4 is Animal Crossing.
Nice.
The original Animal Crossing for the Nintendo GameCube. Oh boy, I'm gonna keep this short because I can go hours and hours and hours talking about this game. This game is so special to me. I know everybody. I guess that you can definitely call this my comfort game. I don't know. It's just it's like the game form of a security blanket. Just man, I don't know. I'm trying to not make it sound weird.
Yeah.
But the villagers in that game honestly really did, because of how well written they were, and just how the evolution of the relationships that you have with them over the course of the game, they really did feel like friends after a while, that you came to see and check on, because they just had so much to say. They were so lively, when you would come to check on them, and they would have, contextual dialogue. They would, talk about different holidays, or they would talk about other villagers and just had interest in you, and, asking questions and things like that. And they would notice if you were gone for a while, and this is old hat now, right? But when this first came over here, we didn't really have too many games that were doing that kind of thing, where the world kept going while you weren't there. So yeah, this game is extremely special to me. Every time a new emulator comes out, I'm waiting for the GameCube emulator to come onto the iPhone, and that's the first game I'm gonna put on there. I absolutely adore Animal Crossing. I think it's a brilliant game, top to bottom. Yeah,
dude, I've been wanting to just play this game casually, and the GameCube that my GameCube that I've had forever, and the GameCube that I'm holding for a friend, both have issues with the clock. The clock doesn't keep which I know a lot of GameCubes have these issues as they go as they age. And so I thought about like plugging my Wii into a TV just so I can play Animal Crossing casually, because the original was so amazing. So we'll see if I'll let you know if I ever do that, Adrian.
Keep me posted. I definitely want to hear about it.
Yes. So good. Eddie, we're back to you, pal. How about your number 4?
Number 4, my favorite Zelda, Legend of Zelda: A Link to the Past.
Yeah, baby.
Fire.
Love this game. I think that if I had to, I mean, it's really hard to remember your very first gaming memory, but I mean, one of mine is this game. Just exploring the world, dying, going in caves I shouldn't be going into, and not even caring at all that I'm dying because I thought the game was so fascinating and the colors were so like they just popped. The music was amazing. So what I used to do, I have this core memory. It's like Inside Out, you know, in the movie Inside Out, how she has those core memories. One of mine is, and it's a joy memory. It's happy. I would go into my parents' like the junk drawer in the kitchen, and I would grab like the brush that was like for like brushing the chicken, like with like butter or whatever, and that'd be my hook shot. And I'd get a hanger, and the hanger would be my bow and arrow. And so, like, you know, opening the drawer was like me accessing my menu, like
yes.
when it would come up when you hit the button. So I would like run around the house like that, like I'm Link. I'm going around like with my like hanger, bow and arrow, like
yes.
So I remember that. That was what this game did to me. It like just seeped into my brain, and
you liked it so much. You're like, I have to just role play this.
Yes, yeah. That's that. So that's 6 of my last 7 games are all Super Nintendo games, which tells you really the system that had the biggest impact on me. But Link to the Past.
I love it. An amazing game. Like another all-timer Zelda, one that like established the sort of new Zelda formula back in the day of that sort of like more, I don't know if I'd call it dungeon-focused format, but like one with an emphasis on them, that it was just so strong. Yeah, amazing. Garrett, where at you, pal? What's your number 4?
So I'm looking at my list. I made a boo-boo. God of War is actually number 4. So I give you my number 5.
Oh, really? Please.
So God of War, moving up. Actually, God of War.
Congrats,
number 4.
God of War.
Congrats. But actually, my number 5. It's really confusing here. This is just a messy episode. They're just really throwing Connor all the curveballs.
Honestly, it's pretty easy stuff for me.
All right. Yeah, you're a professional. I forget you're a professional.
I try.
My number 5 is Fallout New Vegas.
Ooh,
nice.
How topical.
Nice.
It was between this and 3. 3 was my first, and I probably played more of, like easily hundreds, if not thousands of hours of Fallout 3. But Fallout New Vegas wins, I think, purely just on, I like the aesthetic, if that makes sense, the themes of New Vegas more. I loved, going into, I don't know, the relationships, or like they added the, what was the word for it? Was that it? The relationship stat, or no? There's a word for it. The karma system. That's what I was looking for. Like, I don't know, a more like advanced karma system within that, with the different factions and stuff like that. Can get different quests, get to connect with different companions and stuff like that. Yeah, Fallout New Vegas is freaking amazing. And honestly, with the Fallout show, excuse me, coming out and being so freaking incredible, has me wanting to go like replay it a little bit. Getting the itch. If only I didn't have to. If only I wasn't forced against my will to play Kingdom Hearts 2 on stream on Thursday night.
You put that in the poll. I don't want to hear it.
It's true. I did that to myself.
Of course it won.
But yeah, Fallout New Vegas, very, very good. I think everyone should go play that one. Like, a lot of people have been asking recently, like, oh, if I jump into Fallout, like, which one should I start with? Like, yeah, you could. I think 3 and New Vegas are interchangeable, but I don't know. New Vegas had just a little bit more character to it.
Sure. Garrett, I remember when I was, for the first time ever playing a Fallout game, playing Fallout 3 about a year and a half ago, you were in, like, just in my streams all the time for that. And you were just you were so patient, and you were so good at not back seating, but I remember the first couple hours playing that game not using the VATS system at all. And just you watched me suffer through the same encounter like multiple times.
Yeah, it was rough a couple times, but yeah, I didn't want to like.
You were the right
anything.
amount
Not
of
spoil
helpful.
Anything, but, I know some people don't like the back seating, so I was just like, I'm just
Yes.
gonna wait. And I think eventually, I can't remember. Did you stumble upon it, or did I finally say something? I can't
think
remember.
you
but
may have nudged me towards it in truly the most helpful way possible.
Maybe try this button. Maybe
Yeah.
try this
Have you tried pressing this button?
So there's an integral feature you're ignoring. Dude, I'm so glad to hear this. I want to play this game at some point. I loved my time with 3, and I've also, like, I don't know if I'll watch the finale of the season 1 tonight, but I've also loved it. I think it's been fantastic.
So good.
All right, that's your number 4. Well, your number 5.
Yeah,
we're gonna stay with you and do your number 3, Garrett.
Top 3, baby. Top 3 now.
Ooh,
Man.
stressful time, folks.
This is where like my chest starts feeling all tense. I'm like, oh, this is going down in history. Podcasts are permanent.
It is.
So.
And the great thing about guests coming on the show is you never get to change this on the podcast, but I get to change it every episode for me.
Yeah, you suck.
Right.
You suck. My number 3 is a recent one for me, just in the last couple years, but I've fallen head over heels for. Went out and bought an art book. Actually, I pre-ordered a collector's edition that's coming this fall.
Oh.
You're welcome. I already know what it is. You're welcome.
And we did a book club episode on it. It is Omori.
Whoa.
This game, so stinking good. It's basically the better Kingdom Hearts.
Whoa.
A story about friendship, relationships, but better. I'm sorry, Adrian. I'm just throwing all the jabs at you.
That's okay. You'll come around.
But yeah, I didn't know what to expect going into this game. I had heard good things, but when Adrian's like, "Yep, this is what we're doing for book club," and again, I was expecting like, "Oh, it's an indie game. It'll be like a nice, short little experience." Not at all. It's a longer experience, and it is a freaking roller coaster of emotions. From, it starts out so cutesy in this fun little world, and your character's a little like, different compared to the rest of the environment, but it's like, okay, it's just to help them stand out. I don't know. You start justifying it in different ways. Like, I don't know. We don't know much about them. I'm not going to judge. Boy, when you get into this story, and it just gets deep fast, just getting into, I don't know, just so much of the mental health issues in general, and like the inner work, like how that, like all the different friends group and how it's affecting each of them different with this event that happened. And so it's not even just like, oh, this is just a video game about some, that has some horror elements in it that I didn't expect, but it was very much like, oh, this is going deep as well, and like delving into just some very serious topics, which is just very, I don't know, just a learning experience / eye-opening for me, in so many different ways. Just a brilliant story. The soundtrack, another one. Music's big for me in a lot of games. Or just in general. I mean, I play instruments. I'm a musician a little. I haven't played an instrument in a long time, but back in the day, I was a musician. Played a bit, and so that always plays a big part, and it actually plays a big part in the story even as well. This music aspect. So yeah, between the characters, the lovable characters, even the lovable enemies, they have like the best enemies that you can't help but love them. Great soundtrack, and it's a game that just has multiple endings too. That's kind of fun. I'd love to do another playthrough. I haven't yet, but just getting the different endings with how you handle the different situations, the different stresses that you're put up against, and how you deal with anxiety in different situations. So it's a very just. It was a game that I thought was a little mud puddle, and I jumped in, and boy, this is a deep ocean.
Wow.
Highly recommend.
Very cool.
Dang, that's so fun when a game can just really surprise you like that, and just blow you away. That's amazing. Omori, you're number 3. Eddie, we're back to you for yours.
Number 3 is Mass Effect 1.
Ooh.
The first one, it's my favorite one in the series. I know
Wow.
two and three are great. But obviously people have their thoughts on the way 3 ends. And two is like it's so different than 1 as far as how it's presented, and it's so over the top, and it's like it's to me, Mass Effect 2 is like a fun action movie, and I have like so many good times with that game.
Mm-hmm.
But Mass Effect 1 is it's comfort food. There's something about the world building. I just know all the lines by heart. Like I just know the beats. I know how stuff plays out, but it's still fun to build relationships with those characters. There's just something about 1 that really sticks with me, and I think just because I played it so much, I
Yeah.
put more time into that one than any of the other Mass Effect games, and I think they built the world really well in that game. Um, I like 2 and 3. I really do. I love those games, but 1 is just it's special.
Who's your favorite character or party member in 1? I guess.
Rex.
Rex.
I mean,
He's
Rex is the best. He's the best character in that game.
He's great.
Garrus gets more fleshed out. He gets more fleshed out in the sequels, but he doesn't really get too much in the first one. But Rex is like, you take Rex on any mission, you're gonna have fun. His dialogue and
Yep.
he's just fun.
Really
like Rex is fun.
Yeah, I love him.
So
You were it was so fun to hear from you. You know, as a Patreon supporter of Super NPC Radio, hear you. You know, whether it's in Discord or commenting on specific episodes, as we just went through that game in a book club format in the first quarter of the year. And man, I appreciated it even more on my second playthrough, and I'm so pumped to play. I'm playing. I don't know if you've heard or if I've talked to you, but we're playing 2 for June's co-op episode.
nice.
So I need to. I've got like 40% of Rebirth to get through before I'm going to be able to do that. So.
What a terrible problem.
Gosh, truly.
What's your clock right now on Rebirth?
I'm at like 51 hours, and the game's telling me I should check specifically, but I'm about 60% of the way through, according to the game.
Okay, chapter 10.
I'm cleaning up chapter 9, so I'm not quite in 10. Yeah.
Okay. I'm pretty much at the same spot. I just crossed over to 10. I'm at 53 or 54 hours now.
Very
nice. Yeah, we're pretty close.
I did.
Such a good game.
I did like the main story stuff in 9, and now I'm just kind of like, all right, I want to clear out this world and the side missions in Gongaga. Not a spoiler if you've played the original, but okay. Eddie, Mass Effect 1, Adrian, we're at your number 3, pal. What is your what game is going here?
Oh boy. Number 3 is for me is Undertale.
Ooh.
Oh, I knew it. I knew that'd be in your top 3.
It kind of mirrors Garrett's Omori a little in some ways.
Very good.
In a sense, it could. Yeah.
Surprise, like
that's
indie
what I thought
RPGs,
Omori was going to be. Going into Omori, I'm like, oh, it's just another Undertale. It's very different.
Undertale for me it's a very rare game. I consider that game to be a masterpiece in the writing, especially, and the characters. I think it's some of the best character writing I've ever seen honestly in media. Just the way that these characters feel like people, and I say that this game was an experience for me because I can probably count on one hand when I finish a game and it feels like I have to leave friends behind, right?
Yes.
Like the last time I think I felt something like that was Persona 4 Golden, because at the end, well, your character is from the big city and you come out to, you know, the countryside and the game takes place out there, but at the end of the game you have to go back to the city and you get on the train and all your friends are tearing up and you're tearing up and I'm tearing up in real life because I'm like, man, this really feels like I'm leaving my friends, right?
Yeah.
And I felt the same way about not only about the end of Undertale, but just when certain characters have dialogue and you get to get a little more insight into who they are and, you know, why they are the way they are, and just you know, when you get lore and understand the relationship not only between monsters and humans and, you know, the surface and just and just the relationships between different characters that know each other, but both know you as well. And it's just to see all that play out. Not to mention it's accompanied by just a top tier soundtrack.
Yes.
Very surprising that the same guy that made the music also wrote it and just did all of it. Like, of course he had help, but like just being at the helm of that, man, that Toby Fox is on another level, dude.
Amazing.
Yeah, I think same deal as a lot of the games on this list. I think it's a masterpiece through and through. I honestly, I mean, I'm sure you can nitpick and find something to critique, but it is extremely hard, in my opinion, for me to find something that I dislike about that game.
And this is, I'm asking for a specific reason, but this is it might sound like a silly question. This is an indie game, right?
It is.
I mean, like, I'm familiar with Undertale, but, interesting. As a little tease, we're getting kind of close to our next Games Club election. And I don't think it's been said on the pod, but or on any podcast yet, but the category is going to be Indie Darlings. And we might need to throw Undertale on this list.
It's got to be on there. It has to be.
This list is like unreal so far. There's going to be 5 nominations, and the 3 that we have confirmed are it's going to be fun, folks, when this stuff rolls out.
Yeah. I know this game. I know this game gets
oh yeah.
Yeah, it's hilarious when it wants to be. I know this game nowadays. Of course, it has like the rep of, oh, this is just the poster child generic whatever. No, when you play that game in a vacuum, you can understand why it has the fandom and why it has the status that it has, right? And I think for a lot of people, the fandom has colored the game in a certain way where when people think Undertale, they think of, oh man, there's always people with any kind of product that they make it their entire personality and they start acting weird with it, and it unfortunately got some of that reputation weirdos. Because you know what I mean. But
absolutely,
I don't fault the game for that, right? That's just how people interacted with it. But looking at it as just its own thing, I think it's one of the best games ever made. Full stop.
Amazing. Undertale, your number 3. Before we start snaking back, we're staying with you, and I'd love to hear your number 2.
Oh, I feel like the deduction at this point has you guys know what's coming. It's Kingdom Hearts.
I actually did not know that was coming, and I'm so happy to hear it.
The first one?
Yeah.
Nice.
Of course, there are better games than Kingdom Hearts, aka 2.
Debatable.
But how do I put this without sounding corny? Kingdom Hearts is a major reason I am the person I am today. As far as like, my views on friendship and a sense of right and wrong and community, and it shaped my taste in games and RPGs and how I approach art, and just it introduced me to Final Fantasy characters that I had never met before.
That's cool.
And made me want to go back and learn about them, and I think it honestly hit at the perfect time, because I was the perfect age for that, and I was already a Disney fan. I'm a huge Disney fan now. I was already a fan of RPGs, and I know it was another example of lightning in a bottle, like Marvel vs. Capcom, right? And it just hit at the perfect age for me to be like, this is the greatest thing ever. And yeah, I don't take that kind of sentiment lightly. So much so that I'm still trying to design I want to get a tattoo. And I also don't take those very lightly. Like, I have one for One Piece, but I also think One Piece is one of the greatest stories ever told. But yeah, I adore Kingdom Hearts 1. Like I said, I don't know if I'd be sitting here if it wasn't for it. I mean, there's been a lot of games that have come before it that obviously that are, very pivotal in my life, but I think this was one of the ones that, like, yeah, video games are awesome.
It's amazing. This is a game that like I didn't play until adulthood. I didn't even finish it, but I remember as a kid seeing this game and being like, "What is this? I have to play it." Like I'm recognizing Disney characters, some Final Fantasy people, and then just some kid. I'm in. And I think it grabbed a lot of people. Yeah.
Some kid with a key sword.
Yes, some Keyblade. Gosh, Kingdom Hearts. I think it was very influential for like those of us at like our age when that game like first came out in like 2001. I think it was 2002. Amazing. Cool, Adrian. That's your number 2. Eddie, we're back to you. What is your number 2?
We're going from Keyblade to Nailblade because number 2 is Hollow Knight for me.
Oh,
there it is. I was waiting for it.
Love this game so much. Man, it's a masterpiece. Music is great. Gameplay is great. Feels amazing. Looks amazing. You know, I mean, it's Hollow Knight, man. It's Hollow Knight. It's funny because I have no first-person shooters on my list, so I'm spoiling my number 1. But I've never been into those games really. Like I just have not worked for me.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's perspective or just I never had a good feel for them. Even like a couple years ago, my brother let me have a bunch of games, and he gave me the Doom reboot, the one that came out in 2016. I was sick. I got nauseous after like 5 minutes, and I was like, "This is weird." So to me, with video games, I love 2D platformers. I love Metroidvanias. Hollow Knight was like the perfect game for me at the perfect time when I played it. I love it so much. I'll be playing it forever.
Dude, not to spoil anything, but who cares? It came up. This is one of our confirmed nominees for the Indie Darlings, so you can already tell this is going to be a stacked list. Just one of those games that people who talk about it are so passionate for, like you. Like I've heard you talk about this for years, and gosh, I would love to give it a try. And I love the genre too. It's like Metroidvania, you know, with some difficult Souls-like combo. Maybe that's reductive to say.
It's fair.
Hollow Knight, your number 2. We have Cousin Skeeter Valentine 420 in the chat saying Silk Song rumors keep falling for them with a teary-eyed emoji. Someday
Eddie, I think about you every time there's a direct and it's not there. I'm like, man, is he okay? Is he gonna be all right?
I've blocked it out of my mind until it becomes a thing and I can actually buy the game and play it. I'm just not concerning myself, whatever that word is. I don't know what that word is.
That probably is the healthiest thing to do, like waiting for game announcements period, let alone that.
If there's a game that it sucks that a sequel's been announced for like 6 years and it hasn't come out yet, that's the best one because you can just keep replaying Hollow Knight for a long time and still have a good time.
Yeah. Amazing. Hollow Knight's your number 2. Garrett, we're back for your number 2, pal.
Yeah. So actually, hang on. Give me 1 second. I need a prop real quick. Hang on.
Oh, please. Oh, look at that.
I know what he's doing.
He's definitely getting up from his chair because we've got his Zoom picture here.
He's either getting the BB for Death Stranding or he's getting the Metal Gear for Metal Gear Solid 2. It's gonna be one of the two.
I'll say it's the
BB. Profile picture.
What's that?
How old is your profile picture? You look like a youngster there.
It's from like it was in Modesto, maybe 2020.
He's getting his BB and he's getting his Bridges hat.
2020? That was like 2019 or 2020. Yeah.
This might be the first full wardrobe change on the Call Me By Your Game podcast ever. Oh,
nice.
Adrian called it. It is in fact Death Stranding is my number 2.
Goo Goo Gaga.
Goo Goo Gaga indeed. I'm holding my little BB here. Say hi.
Is the light on?
Of course it is, Adrian.
Oh, okay. I couldn't see it.
Yes. Death Stranding by one of the greatest game designers of all time, Hideo Kojima. It's also another masterpiece that just hit at such an interesting time.
Yeah. Oh God.
predicting 2020, coming out in 2019. What a wild ride that was to play through that and then kind of experience the isolation a year, months later. But no, this is one of those games where, man, it gets so much hate. unwarranted hate. Like there's no reason for it. It's because people are cowards, you know. They're afraid to try new things.
They got short attention spans too. This game actually, it takes a commitment, and most people don't want to do it.
Exactly. I love right off the bat. It's just like here, just walk across this open plain with an incredible soundtrack by the band Low Roar, rest in peace. And oh my gosh, like it's just the most what's the word I'm looking for? Like cathartic experience. While also just it's the closest you can get, which is wild. Again, coming out in 2019 and months before like COVID and stuff like that. Going back and replaying it even during that time, it was like the closest to be like, I'm out in nature right now.
Oh, sure.
But it does give you that feeling. It's just so like calming and relaxing, and it really is a visually stunning game. And okay, at the base layer, you're just doing deliveries. It is an extremely reductive statement, but it's like, okay, yeah, you're going from point A to point B to make deliveries. But
that's not the point.
My gosh, the story that's intertwined throughout there, again, like talking about like people reconnecting, people being like separated, relationships being mended, the story with Sam Porter Bridges and the relationships of these characters, and within the story, this was one of those. I mean, just like what God of War did to me, just like what Amori did to me, this thing did the same thing. I was crying at the end. It wasn't just tearing up. Like it was just like, this was like, oh my gosh, such an emotional ride.
Yeah.
In such a fun way to get there, because it wasn't just like this is a first person shooter, a third person shooter. This isn't just another platformer game. It is corny as it sounds. Like it really was a whole new genre of game. He calls it a Strand type game, but it's like I don't know what that means still. but it's like, okay, this is like a it really was like a survival game, trying to weather the elements and plan out your strategies. How am I going to get over this cliff? How am I going to get there without, getting my toes rotten off because I got frostbite, or from BB getting upset if I fall down a cliff and cause an avalanche. And oh man, like so the gameplay aspect itself is incredible. The story's great. The soundtrack's wonderful. A game that just I own on every version of it that's ever come out. I own it on PS4, on PS5, Director's Cut. I bought it on PC. I got it on the phone. Anywhere Death Stranding's available, I got, because I just needed that much in my life. So Death Stranding all the way, number 2.
I love it. I'm sure you're excited for part 2 in 2025. It's scheduled for at this point.
So stoked. Yeah. The trailer looks incredible. They're sticking with that same engine, but it's still amazing to me that they're even just able to squeeze a little more juice out of it. And just even graphically, it's like, oh, it's better.
It looks even better than 1.
They're kicking up a notch. Granted, they did the same. It's the same engine as from Horizon Zero Dawn to Forbidden West as well. Forbidden West was gorgeous on PS5. But yeah, they're going all in. I cannot wait.
Amazing.
I am extremely curious because, boy, if you've seen the trailer for Death Stranding 2, it's bonkers crazy. I couldn't imagine not having, because even having context for Death Stranding, watching that trailer, I'm like, this guy was on drugs.
Yeah.
So I couldn't imagine like someone not having any context for the first one, being like, what the heck is this? This is a video game?
Yeah.
What the heck?
Goodness. Well,
very good though. I love it.
I'm gonna be really excited for you when that moment comes. But folks, we're down to the final picks. Are basically our number 1 favorite overall games. And Garrett, we're staying with you. What is your favorite game of all time?
Favorite game of all time. I did a tie like you did.
What?
I don't know if it's allowed.
Whoa.
It is allowed.
What?
Of course, it's
he
allowed.
said there's no rules. The
only
okay?
rule is I needed your list ordered.
Okay. It's a tie for Metal Gear Solid 1 and Metal Gear Solid 2.
Nice.
What a
cheating!
What a shock!
I was wondering how you were going to pick, and now I know.
That's how I was going to pick. the entire Metal Gear series is number one. Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, and 4 for me. No, just 1 and 2. Uh, the reason it was so hard to pick is because the nostalgia for 1 is like very heavy. That's, I mean, one of the, I don't know. I played games before that, but when I think of my childhood, I just think of watching my dad for endless hours playing it, and then me jumping in finally, and like him when I was old enough, he eventually let me play it, and me playing it endlessly. Um, the story, the soundtrack, those sound effects, like and it's so funny. Like I'll like catch something just out in public, like I'll hear like a weird sound effect and be like, "That's from Metal Gear." Like it'll just be a little like blip, and I'm like, I know that. Or like in pop culture references or like you say use a sound effect, like just the alert sound. Like it's so common all the time. It's like, oh, that was the alert from Metal Gear Solid. People don't even realize that. People have no idea. The characters are so good in that story. The bosses are iconic. Psycho Mantis. We got Vulcan Raven. We got Sniper Wolf. Just the Metal Gear Rex design is so good. I've actually been putting together a model on stream. So last week I've almost completed it. I just got to put well, his leg just fell off.
Oh no, Rex.
Little Rex. You know, I'm no scientist. You know, it's hard to put Metal Gears together. I just love that through and through, that one. But Metal Gear Solid 2, there's a special place in my heart for Raiden. A lot of hate for Raiden, but I really loved him as a character for being kind of just thrown into this, thinking he knew it all. He went through the VR training. He knows exactly what's going on. He comes in this cocky, big shot. Never done a mission before, but he's like, I know exactly what I'm doing here. Like I've done all whatever hundreds of some VR missions and training exercises, and I'm the best there ever was. Not realizing all along, just a pawn in a big old chess match.
Jeez.
And boy, the twists and turns. I mean, the twists are big enough in the first game, but they just go all out in the second one, which is eventually, it's just a staple of Kojima games. He's like the M. Night Shyamalan of video games, having the big twist somewhere. But man, number 2, very, very good. Also, very good Metal Gear design. Love Ray. But yeah, that honestly having that twist of like, oh, you're Snake, oh, you're Raiden now, and even again the twist later on within like the story and everything. That's such a good game. Very, very good games. Please go play Metal Gear. I was earlier, what you were talking about, the people who are make their whole lives about Undertale and how they're weird. I'm like, yeah, why would people ever do that? It's crazy. my whole personality, who I am, is just Metal Gear. It's in my blood. I can't not love it.
I love it. I think of you when I think of this series, and it's really fun to see 1 and 2 represented at the top of your list. I thought it was possible, but in this way I didn't expect it, and so amazing. We'll go through, we'll have you count down 10 to 1 as we close out, but we got 2 more picks to get through. Eddie, why don't you go ahead and tell me your favorite game of all time, pal?
Star Fox, we are in your debt. I would be honored if you would become considered part of the Cornet. Oh no, sir. We prefer to do things our own way. Great Fox is ready to go. It's time for us to go now. And then they run off into the sunset. And then the music crescendos at the perfect amount when the Great Fox starts coming up over the horizon. It is like the best ending of all time. And Star Fox 64 is my favorite game of all time.
Woo! The crowd goes
good
wild.
There it is.
Eddie, real quick, can I jump in? You forgot a very good part that makes me kind of choke up every time I hear it. Right before that, remember you're leaving Venom, and your dad comes in and he says, "You become so strong, my son." And he kind of looks around, and Peppy says, "What's going on, Fox?" And he says, "Nothing. Nothing's wrong.
Nothing's wrong." Yeah. I have to share a quick story about that.
Please.
I was it's not that crazy, but I was living with my brother at the time, and we were both like drinking that night, like a lot of Coors Lights that night, and I beat Andros at the very end, and I had no wings. And so you know how hard it is to fly with no wings in that game, Adrian.
Yep.
And I had no health, no shields. So if I hit a wall, I was gonna die. Now, when you are doing that part at the end, you have to follow your dad out of the different like pathways,
Yeah.
and you have to speed up enough to to keep up with them, because if you take a wrong turn, you're just gonna die. I wasn't fast enough to catch up, so I had to guess every single time. I'm guessing at all 5 of the turns, and I'm just like using the force and feeling it. And my brother gets up in my ear, and he's like, "There's no effing way you do this. There's no effing way you do this. There's no." And I was just like focused. I'm just focused, and I get through to the very end. I see light at the end of the tunnel, and I go, "Yes." And he just kind of looks at me and just like falls on the controller, and then like takes my body down, and like I crash into a wall. No! And, like, I just like my instincts. I shoved him to the ground, and he's on his back, just dying laughing. Like I've never seen him laugh like that before. And then I was so angry, but in that moment, I just started laughing too because it was really funny. But I did make it out of there with no wings and no shields, and I felt my way. But I had to share that story because we bring it up all the time, because it was honestly, looking back on it, it was really funny. But this is my favorite game. Dude, I love it. I can still play it every day.
Kind of like Garrett with Metal Gear Solid, I think about you when I think about this game, and truly anytime I play it or even quote it, like it was on a recent episode of this podcast where someone brought up that game, and then I just had to get out just 2 quotes, because it's hard not to. It's so memorable. The gameplay's so tight. I think you could make an argument that it's a perfect game, and that also it's maybe the like best pound for pound game on the 64. Gosh, Star Fox 64 is so good. And I knew it was going to be your number one. And I mean, listeners, if you want to go back and listen to like one of the earliest episodes of the pod, episode 6, I interview Eddie about this game, and yes, in my childhood bedroom, and it's a great episode. Even though I don't know how to host at the time, it's still great. Amazing, dude. You're number one. Adrian, you've got the final reveal for us today. What is your favorite game of all time?
I do, and my story with this game kind of mirrors Garrett's with Metal Gear. Same deal. My old man, this is also one of his favorites. I watched him play it, and the torch was passed to me, and I remember starting to play it on my own, and it is just ingrained in me. I know it front to back, and that's Super Metroid.
Yep.
Super Metroid is my favorite game of all time, and it's really, honestly, it's I'd say 50-50 sentimental reason, because whenever I do play this game or think about this game, I do think about my old man and him playing it, and then also because it is just a phenomenal game. Like I said, the way that Garrett can just hear a sound and it's from Metal Gear. Like, if you ever get stuck in Super Metroid, you can honestly just call me or text me, and I'll be like, "Where are you? What room are you in? Okay, go down 2 screens, then go over 1 screen, and now tell me what you see." It's like that for me.
Yes.
I think that game is just, when you talk about Super Nintendo, there's always, well, in my opinion, there's like the Holy Trinity. It's Super Mario World, and it's A Link to the Past. And I think it's honestly that you don't even have to explain why. These games are just timeless. And I adore Super Metroid. And honestly, for it to take over 30 years for a game to even come close enough to knock Super Metroid off its mantle, and it's another Metroid game that's doing it. So that just tells you how good those games have the potential to be. And I'm talking about Dread. Dread is the only game that I would ever consider, in my opinion, to be as good as Super Metroid. If not better. I can honestly have somebody to argue if it's better than Super Metroid, and I honestly couldn't fight him about it. That's how good Dread is, in my opinion. But yeah, that's my number one. I love it to death. Thank goodness I have a physical copy of it. Wow. If I ever needed to, it's there. It's in the box and with the manuals and everything. I cherish that game. It is. I know it's worth a lot of money. Blah blah blah. It's worthless to me. It's one of those things that even if I lost it all, I would not ever sell that game.
Nice, dude. Yeah, an amazing game. I loved the story about you talking about how, you know, it was your dad's like game and you would watch him play it and then you pass the torch as well. I love that. You and I got to talk about Metroid Dread on a co-op episode almost 3 years ago at this point, 2.5 years ago, and we've talked about Super Metroid as well. Yeah, it's amazing. I replayed it last December, just kind of like the Portal 2 experience. I was like, oh, I'll just like play through this because I don't know what I want to do, and I was like, I'm gonna play this entire game, and it's amazing. But we did it, folks. We got through all of our top 10 favorite games of all time. Before we plug and get out of here, I'm gonna have each of you just count down, 10 or honorable mention 11 so that you have there. One of us has an 11 through 1. Garrett, why don't we start with you, pal? Go 10 through 1 for me.
All right. Starting off, my honorable mention, Gex Enter the Gecko. And 10.
Let history remember.
Number 10, Halo 3. Number 9, Crash Bandicoot Warped. Number 8, Dead Space. 7, Rock Band. 6, Pokemon Ruby. Number 5, Fallout New Vegas. Number 4, God of War 2018. Number 3, Omori. 2, Death Stranding. And top dog number 1 here, Metal Gear Solid and Metal Gear Solid 2 tied.
Amazing. Eddie, let's hear yours.
I think it's really cool that we don't have the same, like we don't have any repeats on all 4 of our lists.
Whoa, really? Not a single one?
That's wild.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Wow.
Yeah. My number 10 is Mega Man X. Number 9, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 4, Turtles in Time. Number 8, MVP Baseball 2005. Number 7, Final Fantasy 4. Number 6, Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars. Number 5, Chrono Trigger. Number 4, Legend of Zelda A Link to the Past. Number 3, Mass Effect 1. Number 2, Hollow Knight. And number 1, Star Fox 64.
Very gorgeous list you have there. The only crossover we really have is Adrian's like sort of unofficial or official number 11, which is also Halo 3.
Oh, yeah.
Adrian, but that's it. And I was talking before, I've almost replaced Combat Evolved with 3, so we were close there too, but I didn't. Adrian, run us through your list.
All right, so my honorable mention / number 11 is Halo 3. My number 10 is Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots. My number 9 is Cuphead. My number 8 is Marvel vs. Capcom 2. My number 7 is Transistor. My number 6 is Super Smash Brothers. My number 5 is The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. My number 4 is Animal Crossing. My number 3 is Kingdom Hearts. My number 3 is Undertale. Sorry. My number 2 is Kingdom Hearts. And my number 1 is Super Metroid.
We did it, folks. We got another top 10 favorite games of all time episode in the bag with 3 of my favorite buds and favorite people to talk about video games with. We freaking did it.
I think these are probably the best list you've ever done. Maybe you should end the series right here.
Yeah, I mean,
I think you kind of killed it.
You're not topping this.
Definitive.
You know what? I'll never do it again, or I'll just never tell you guys that I do another one. One of the two, for sure. This was so much fun for me. Thank you all for donating your time, and not only to think about this and curate your list, but to take the time, several hours out of your evenings and your weeks to do this with me. Let's go ahead and just plug stuff and get out of here. Garrett, why don't we start with you?
Yeah, as mentioned earlier, I'm the other Super Gamer Boy, so you can catch me over at Super Gamer Boys podcast. Check out our YouTube channel, youtube.com/supergamerboys, where we have our main show, our main podcast, Super Gamer Boys, as well as other shows we've done. Super Gamer Book Club is available over there. Super Dungeon Boys, we have a D&D show we did a season of. Adrian has his little segment. He's done Super Indie Boys. We got Good Vibes with Garrett was a very short run series that you can catch over there. Just follow us on YouTube. We got a lot of fun content, and we're almost to 400. We're trying to get to 500 by the end of the year. We're at like 385. We've been growing the last week. I'm really excited about it. So go follow. Let's see if we can get to 500
YouTube subscribers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dude, let's get there.
Yeah, we've been getting some motion.
We're getting there. So we're trying to get to 500 by the end of the year. See if we can do it.
Let's get there. Let's also drop that in the Super NPC Radio community content. Just drop your channel link in there, and then we'll get some follows from that.
Heck yeah.
Killer. Well, Garrett, thank you so much for joining me, dude. Always a pleasure to talk to you about video games and just stuff in general, pal. Adrian, since we're on the Super Gamer Boys beat, do you have anything else that you'd like to plug today?
No, that's pretty much Garrett. Pretty much covered it all. Like
Cool.
I said, you can find me alongside him for the podcast, and of course, me personally, I'm on pretty much any social media or game service at Homeboy. HOLMBOI.
Amazing. And Eddie, is there anything that just came up out of nowhere that you wanted to plug?
Just at hop_head_ed. Hophead Ed is my name on the Twitter and on the Discord.
Gorgeous.
And hopefully I'll be around a little more once I'm done studying and passing the science
PS5
test soon.
time, baby.
Then it's PS5 time.
Yeah, boy.
Well, yeah, dude. So truly, if anyone out there is listening and you want to have like nice conversations with other like sweet people about video games, either message like me or any of our shows, whether it's Call Me by Your Game or Super NPC Radio. We'll send you a link to the Discord so you can get in there. But without further ado, I'll just go ahead and close this out with some plugs of my own. The show art for Call Me by Your Game is done by the artist Glenn J. You can find him and his other great work on Instagram at Glenn with 2 N's .jay. You can follow me all over social media on Blue Sky, Instagram, Twitter, and also on Twitch at twitch.tv/consiscool69, where we streamed this episode. I've been playing through BioShock for our Games Club, and I'm trying to start BioShock Infinite for a bonus episode of the Games Club. We're just doing that. It's going to release for everybody. So come along if you want to see me stream video games and chat with me. You can, check this podcast out. If you don't watch on YouTube, give us a follow over there. If you're a YouTube viewer, check us out wherever you get your audio versions if you ever want that. And lastly, I'll plug the Patreon. We're over at patreon.com/supernpcradio, and that's a place where by supporting us, you can get bonus content from the makers of this show, Video Games, a Comedy Show, Reactivators. So yeah, it's a great place to support us. You get bonus episodes of podcasts like the BioShock Games Club, which we're currently going through that game in a book club format week by week. And like I said, pretty soon we're going to have an election for our next Games Club game that we're going to cover. The Indie Darlings is the category. So you can, by the way, vote, even though you get these bonus episodes at the $5 tier every week. If you subscribe at the $1 tier, you can vote on this. So everyone who's a supporter can vote. So if you're interested in hopping in, even just to influence the election, go for it, because you got the right to vote. That'll do it for this episode of Call Me By Your Game podcast. Thanks for listening to another Top 10. We'll be back with the regular format next week, and we'll see you on the next one.